So is this what a lot of your work is asking these questions and trying to get down to almost like the root, if possible, of like what's going into how we're performing when it comes to schools and getting out of them?
Yes, a lot of my work looks at, so I do different kind of needs assessments to see where are students feeling supported in the institution, whether that's, I've done higher ed work, but even in like the K-12 system, where are students feeling supported, and if it's low and if it's lacking here, maybe it's lacking in feedback, maybe it's lacking in resources, then how can you, as an institution, what can you do to support those students' needs? But one of the biggest things is just figuring out what factors actually contribute to the success of Black students, right? That a lot of my work is centered around Black students. And so I may look at how does it impact you if you had an older sibling? Did that help or harm you? When you grew up. And for the most part, we'll see, if a person had an older sibling and their sibling was, at least 2-3 years older than them, then they may tend to do a little bit better in school because they had someone that was there, like helping them with their homework and etc. It's just a lot of different issues. It's like a lot of different factors that I may look at to see what actually supports these particular students. And sometimes I look at students that may be performing a little bit better on an assessment versus other students to see what are the differences in these particular students, and that makes them perform the way that they do. And how can we take what we know about them and form an intervention to help these students? So, for example, I did a study, an attribution retraining study, and attribution sounds so fancy, but it just means like reasoning. Like, how do people attribute, or what kind of reason do people attribute to their success or their failure? And so I would have kids that would say, I'm bad at math. I just don't like math. I'm just not good at math. And it's like, well, that's an attribution that a child is making, that is an internal attribution, because I'm saying it is my own ability, and it is a fixed attribution, because I'm saying I'm just not good at it. It's not that I need to work more. It's not that I need to study more. It's that I'm not good at it. And so I'm saying, when I see the kids, same population, and they're doing better, these are kids that have internal, it's still me, but external, in terms of it's unstable. I can change it. Like, you know what? I really don't get this algebra stuff, but I'm gonna take another look at the chapter. I'm gonna read through it. I'm gonna do the homework assignments. I'm gonna XYZ, and we see those students perform better. And so one of the things that I did was an attribution retraining, where we took students through just like a semester-long intervention to really get them to think. And so one of the things that you would do is, like for math, because that's always the one people are anxious about, you just give them little small successes. You give them opportunities to get problems right. And so maybe in the beginning of the semester, you don't just throw the hard stuff at them, right? You just, we walk through some problems. You get to do some problems on your own. You go do the homework, you do it on your own. You come back, the same kid that's like, I hate math. I'm just not good at it. Then it's like, well, dang, you know what? I did get this homework right. So maybe I'm not that bad. Maybe I really can do this. Right. So it's just like little things like that, instead of just saying, well, Black students tend to underperform on math achievement tests. So that's just what it is. Which is how a lot of the research reads, and they have all their reasons why, because it's low SES, because it's the school, the teachers are under experience in XYZ. So, which is another thing about the teachers, because it's some good teachers in the hood. Okay, I'm gonna say the hood because I
Yeah,
came from
yeah.
it's a good teachers in the hood.
There's some good
But
ones and some bad ones. Yeah,
it's some bad ones, and it's some bad ones too. And it's just like, man,
yeah.
yeah.
It's such an interesting thing to think about, and as you were speaking, it almost makes me wonder, because something that always comes back in my mind, even with what I do, even though I draw, I find myself doing a bunch of math, right? I find
Mm-hmm.
myself doing a bunch of math, and I find it so ironic when um doing something and I actually have to recall something that I learned in
Mm.
high school, where it's just like I'm literally doing algebra for my job. Like I am doing, you know what I'm saying? Like I genuinely have to do geometry if I want to figure this out right now. And it's just like, oh, okay, that paid off. Or even when I'm doing something like typing and it's just like I could be looking at these keys while I'm trying to do this, but actually I think I want to refer to my skills because that's actually gonna make me faster. So that
Exactly.
keyboarding class that I hated actually is doing some good. You know what I'm saying? When I didn't want to do it then, it's actually paying off now, right? And it's something that you think about when kids say it all the time, where it's just like you get out of school and it's just like, well, what did I learn in high school that I'm
Yeah,
actually using now, right?
exactly.
And this whole conversation is actually making me wonder, is just like when we go through schools, are we focused on the right things? Is
Mm-hmm.
it the actual like 1 + 1 is 2
Mm-hmm.
that's important, or is it the my ability to figure something out in the moment, my ability to find a more efficient or faster way to
Mm-hmm.
do something in life? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we focused on the right things when it comes to education? And is that what a part of what's hindering us? Because it's just like we'll get these tests, we'll get
Mm-hmm.
these tests, and it'll be like you said, where it's just like you asking me stuff about a yacht, and I don't know anything about a yacht, but I could tell you the ins and out of my mama's Honda. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And it's just like, do we need bigger picture education versus like the standardized approach that
Mm-hmm.
we get that tells us, oh, you probably not gonna succeed.
Mm-hmm. And I think we do, because that's just the way the world works, right? And it's like it's mathematicians that can't take a card apart and put it back together. And you're a mathematician. So
Right.
it's like it's like the world is set up to only celebrate certain successes over others, or certain skills and talents over others. And like people have different like intelligencies, for lack of a better word. Like I remember reading, I think I was watching a YouTube video, and they were talking about how people were it was like this tribe. They live on the island. They're kind of alone by themselves. People don't go over there because they will kill
Oh
them.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember their names, but I know what you're talking about. Because you a guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they will get you. But they was talking about how they make all these tools. These are people that I don't have they don't have formal education, right?
Right.
We have our village teachers, and that's what we do. But they can make and craft tools, right, that they use to hunt, to just kind of carry out their daily lives. To shoot you all the way out there on a boat, and they can, throw a bow and arrow at you. So it's
Right.
like it's sometimes I wonder, sometimes I really wonder about the manner in which the education system is set up, especially in the United States. Like one of the things that always was weird to me was the fact that the kids in the United States start getting tested so early. It's like, oh, let's test the kids, let's test the kids. And it's like other places, like even in Japan, the kids don't get tested until they're like, you know, in the 5th or 6th grade or something like that, right? It's when they're way older. It's like our kids aren't given the opportunity to just focus on inquiry-based learning, to just focus on getting the foundational conceptual understanding of letters and words and numbers down.
Right.
Because as soon as you can, you finna throw a test at them, you
Yeah.
know? And that's like very early on, kids start taking standardized tests, which I don't agree with. Because just like we talking about, just like you said, they don't, it's one way. It's one way. It doesn't encapsulate anyone's culture. It's either you assimilate or you don't assimilate, and that's what it is. I remember there's a report that came out called the Coleman Report. I think it came out in 1966. And they literally administered a test to Black students. They literally said this in the article. that it was a test of assimilation to see how much Black kids assimilated into white culture. But then when you was looking at the outcomes of the test, they were reading like they were achievement scores or like intelligence scores rather. So you're more intelligent when you assimilate to white culture is what they're saying.
Yeah, because that's the standard?
Because
Or
that's
it's set against, right?
the standard. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, it just, and that's 1966. That's not that far, you know, away from us.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's still basically the case today, you know, in a lot of different ways.
yeah,
So I don't know. It bothers me, and it bothers me when people that look like me hold those attitudes towards people that look like me. You know, I remember when I was in high school and I was writing a book report on a book that I read, and I had the librarian print it, and she was reading it, I guess, on her way to hand it to me. And she looked at me and she asked me, "Do you even know what dissipate mean?" Because she saw the word on my paper. And I'm looking like,
why would I ask for it?
I wrote it. You feel me? Like, so like I'm making up words, but she literally would not like she literally was looking at me. And then I said, I finally said the definition. She handed me the paper and walked off.
Did
It's
you
like,
do the definition, ma'am? Were you
come on, man. Our kids already got to deal with it from the outsiders, you know. Not
Yeah,
to say y'all against it, but you know, outside of the community. I gotta look at you, somebody who like I should see as an ally. I gotta worry about you too.
yeah, yeah,
That's that's crazy. That's crazy to me. And then we wonder why, because then it's like you don't know how a child will internalize that. Like,
mhm,
lucky for me, like I was already pretty like built, like who I am. But you don't know, like when it's like a younger kid or whoever, you making those little subtle remarks or like indications that, oh, you shouldn't be smart. You
yeah,
shouldn't know this word. You shouldn't, you don't know how they internalize that. Then it's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be because I'm acting white, because
right.
Black people aren't nerds, or whatever the case is. It's just, it's disturbing.
Yeah, it very much is. It's another thing that baffles me. I've said it in an episode. I actually have a friend who is a therapist, and she said she was hesitant to go to grad school. And she's been on the show before too. I think she said on the show. She said she was hesitant to go to grad school because of perception. Because,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? It's already one thing to get an undergraduate degree, but now I'm going for, people gonna think I'm, they already act like I'm better because I got one degree. Now I'm going back for another one. You know what I'm saying? And even like, you know what I'm saying, in certain families, like when you do something like get a doctorate, like, look, I went to college, undergrad is hard, grad school is harder, and a doctorate, I don't know now. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to call yourself a doctor, I can see why people walk around like, yeah, put some respect on my name because I worked for that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But we as a community will look at it and be like, oh, you must think you better than somebody.
I just don't get it. Even when people go to undergrad, they say, like, I do remember when I was in undergrad, and one of my cousins said that to me, and I don't know if she said it jokingly, but I told her like, hey, like, don't say that to me, because she was like, I don't even know what it was. It'd be the dumbest stuff, Marissa. It'd be like, what was it? I'm really trying to remember. It could be me opening a jar, right, and the lid is tight. And I'm like, dang, I can't get this jar open. They're like, you can't get the jar open? You went to college? You should be. What the hell we got to do with it? Like, what?
Yeah,
You know? And they don't think about how that might affect the person. Like, what is it? And how that comes off, you know?
yeah,
Like, how are you perceiving me? You put me on a pedestal. You do that. You do that.
yeah.
Because maybe you know, for reasons, right? For various
Many reasons. Yeah,
But that's an issue. That's an issue that we're dealing with in our community. And that might be hindering so many other people, we don't know, from
Yeah,
actually going on and pursuing dreams that they really have, goals that they really have, because they don't feel like they're going to be supported by their family, or they feel like their family is going to turn a back on them or treat them differently because now you think you're better than me.
yeah,
And that's crazy.
it is. It is.
And I don't
You
understand, like, I don't know what kind of practical solutions we could put forth for that, for those issues, for those kind of issues. It's like we got this external situation. All right, we'll deal with y'all. But it's like we got issues right here, like at home,
mhm.
that we need to deal with. And I just don't know, like, how do we get that together?
Right, right. Well, I think the first step is having the conversation and
Mm-hmm.
bringing it to people's attention. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, because it does have an effect. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? It does have an effect. Like, something that I'll say a lot too is just like, okay, when where I came from, joning, cracking jokes on people,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's the norm. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you could say something super callous to
Mm-hmm.
somebody, and you know what I'm saying? We just supposed to laugh like it's okay.
Yep.
And people have been doing this to you since you were a child.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Doing it to you a child. And the expectation is you're supposed to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if your feelings get hurt.
Mm-mm.
Have thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
Just shrug it off. You know what I'm saying? You be all right. So
So
then
true.
and then we'll say little things like that, like, who do you think you are? Oh, she
Yep.
did. Well, she that. You know what I'm saying? If you come in a family that gossips, you know what I'm saying, where you hear people talking about other
Yep.
people and they saying how they really feel. You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying? They saying how they really feel, and then you overhear that, and then you internalize those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's just like, well, I don't want to do that because I heard how they talked about such and such.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do nothing outside the box because they gonna make fun of me, or they gonna do this, or they gonna do that. And that's another reason. You know what I'm saying? One of the first things that had to change for me when I went to therapy was my inner dialogue.
Mm. Mm.
Because you know what I'm saying, we can just get accustomed to talking
Yes.
down on ourselves
Yes.
and not even realize it. It's
That's
your
so true.
inner dialogue. Your thoughts in your head could talk to you worse than somebody on the street.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that, you know what I'm saying? That's another thing that can hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't talk about it because
Mm-hmm.
it has become the norm
Mm-hmm.
of people.
It really have. And it's like, I guess I always think like how much of our culture, I always tell somebody, me and my friend, because we go back and forth. And I consider all my brothers and sisters on the diaspora as brothers and sisters. But I always wonder, because I tell him, me as a Black American, it's only so many of us. You can't fly us in from nowhere. Like our experiences is rooted in being a Black American, right?
Yeah.
And that's who we are. But it's like how much of our culture has been, bits and pieces of things that we kind of took on from way back then. You get me? So
Yeah.
like even with the Jonan thing, like yeah, we crack jokes. Everybody crack jokes, here and there. But it's like when you think about people that were, you know, being basically kidnapped, being sold and being on a selling block, and people literally, his lips big, yo, lips so big, blah, blah, blah. And you think about it's like, how did this get here? How did we get here?
Yeah.
I remember doing a presentation in high school. One of my friends got on me, like, don't be coming from my culture. I'm like, this is my culture too, whatever.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing with soul food, right? And I love me some good soul food. But it's like when I think about the chilling situation, the chitterlings, I hate chillers. I hate chillers, man. I just post something about them. But it was like that's a thing in the culture because when the kidnapper, I ain't finna cause no master. When the kidnapper, got made they whatever they pig or whatever, they threw out the straps. What they didn't want, they threw it out.
Right.
And my people, because they're gonna be resourceful, given whatever situations that they in, did what they had to do with it to feed themselves and their family.
One of
And
our
that became,
by the way.
what you say?
One of our strengths, by the way.
Exactly, because we're gonna do what it do, whether we got the resources or not. And so, you know, they did what they had to do, but it's like now that's the thing. You like people want when holidays come up, they like, okay, who gonna make the chitlins? And you know what I find so crazy is like this was things that people threw out, right? Straps or whatever. And then it's like now every time Black culture takes something, it's worth something. I don't care. You can keep telling us, y'all the bottom of the barrel, baby, please. Because when we step up and we do it, exactly. So now it's like, oh yeah, now everybody now you get them too. Oh. And then now it's like however much, $30-$20 a bucket or however much it is. And that's with anything. That's why it's just like it blows my mind.
Wearing up our tails. Yeah.
It blows my mind that it's literally still, you know, Black people trapped in this matrix of what society is telling them that they are and who they are. When it's like you are so brilliant and so beautiful, and you just don't understand that anything you put your hands on, you gonna make it golden.
Yeah.
Anything you do is gonna be golden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Golf, track, all the sports, okay? All the music. You let me in the door in the entertainment industry, you're gonna be entertained. So it's just like you see all this, but you don't believe. They got you to a point where you don't even believe your own eyes. That's how they got you.
We done had a whole president and everything with no scandals.
They got you.
We still waving flags for. We ain't even gonna speak on it. You know what I'm saying? But all right. You know what I'm saying? All right. But we got the nerve to walk around thinking that we less than, that we not great. The nerve, the audacity of us to think that we not great. Like, it's all in our minds. And you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's almost like everybody's sitting here waiting on somebody else to do it. No, it starts with us. It starts with us. It's the reason why they could create an entire Black Wall Street.
Exactly.
And then threaten society.
Exactly.
It's the same reason why Martin Luther King had J. Edgar Hoover spying on him.
Exactly.
Like, what you up to?
Exactly. The Black Panthers. It's a reason.
It's a reason.
I don't need to do this with you right now, because you're about to set me off. Like, real life.
We gonna go.
It's like when I think about like people, I always check people because like the Black Panthers was so good at what they was doing.
Yeah.
The government took over your program. The government based a program off what you got going on.
Yeah.
Like what we talking about? Like, why don't you see?
Yes, even these gangs that we repping now originated as programs to help your community. Now they hurting your community.
Thank you.
Be like, your gang was not based off these principles that you repping right now.
Thank you.
That's not what they founded that on.
That's so true.
No.
That's so true. You really about to set me off. We ain't got the time to be going all that. It's so true because like gangs was literally created to police the community because police was brutalizing people, right? Like, no, we need somebody to police the police.
Why LA? Crips and Bloods in LA, where they needed it the most.
Exactly.
Where Rodney King and everything like that happened.
Exactly. But then they let them come out, and sometimes I be a little because oh my God. So there's the true origins, right, to this stuff. Like even the gangs, right? Like even Larry Hoover, right? Like even though it was some situations, Larry Hoover organized one of the biggest voter registrations in Chicago when he was out. And it's like it was so many Black people in the community that got registered to vote. And it was like, oh, what? Hold on, what he did? What? That Black man did what?
Right.
Come on, you know, and been in jail ever since. Like I think it was happened like in the same year. If they didn't get him that year, they got him like the next year. So it's like they had a real meaning where they was really putting in work for the community. But then because Hollywood worked hand in hand with the Matrix, then they make these movies and they include these gangs, and then they show you something. They show you what they want you to think it means. They
Mm-hmm.
want you to take on these behaviors, right?
Right.
And it's just like, and they do it though. It's just like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, wow. Conditioning. And that's, I remember arguing with somebody in college in undergrad because I was telling him like, no, like brainwashing is real. And I think in his mind, he was thinking like, I don't know what maybe whatever he saw in a movie, like it's some big machine and you go through. No, it's subtle things, honey. It's you watching a commercial. You know what I mean? Love that chicken from Popeyes. Love that chicken from Popeyes. You done seen it 3 times. I'm about to go get some chicken from Popeyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's that subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's things like you watching this movie and it's showing you people that look like you, and it's showing you what they're doing in a particular neighborhood. And over and over and over again, once you see that so many times, if you haven't been taught to critically think, if you haven't made it to, you know, a point where you have kind of, you know, established kind of a solid identity in who you are, you will take it on.
Yeah.
Take that on.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like people might think that I'm crazy, but it's just like even with the media, you have to even be cautious with the media because
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? You have to look at the sources of your media because you please refer to the literal definition of propaganda, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Exactly. But they ain't no reason they passed the law for legal propaganda, and I'm sure they did that for a reason, right? They passed the law where they could do that. And one of my favorite Malcolm X quotes is about the media, and he said something like, you know, the media is one of the most dangerous tools in the world because the media can control the mind of the masses.
Mm-hmm.
I can really tell you anything I want. And I used to always wonder, like, if it is a drug epidemic or something going on in Cali, like in a small community in Cali, let's say Fresno, right? Because who be going to Fresno? Not just like,
Right.
don't give me Fresno people. But
Yeah.
why would you then?
I'll get you.
Oh dang, man, I did it. Like, why would you report on this drug epidemic or this, you know, I think it was like kids snorting glue to get high at the time. Why would you report on that? That's happening in Fresno. You're gonna report on it in Illinois, in Missouri, and New York, and etc. What you think gonna happen?
Kids gonna start smelling glue.
You just made an epidemic. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. And that's
Yeah.
what they do.
I wasn't tripping off no submarine until I kept hearing people talk about it.
Exactly.
I was working. I was living life. And then I was just like, hold on, I keep talking about it. What the happened?
Exactly.
Because I wouldn't about it. And then to find out days later, it's like, hold on, wait, they tried to do a coup in Russia? I missed that.
Exactly. Exactly. I tell you, it's so crazy. Every time something like that happens, I'm like, where should I really be looking? Because they up to something. I'm like, hold on. Because I didn't know about the submarine thing either until later, much later. And I'm like, billionaires drowning in the ocean on a submarine controlled by a joystick. I'm like, man, what they hiding, man? It gotta be some other stuff going on.
Who wrote this, yo? Like, who wrote this? Like, this can't be real.